start streaming. We are now streaming. Hello everyone. Okay, and I'm going in here and I'm refreshing this page. Okay, so this is me, and copy that link, close this, paste that here, and we'll say hashtag TikTok trips, right? Okay, so hashtag for tonight's chat is TikTok troops. Live right now. Okay, I have just sent that tweet
to the world.
Hello everyone, you're with Delboy on independencelive.net. Tonight we are talking to Johnny McNeil, who many of you might have seen on Twitter under the name Gaslighting Gilligan is a book that Johnny has written. It was originally a book about domestic abuse, but it transformed into something quite different after that. Now you may have noticed, Johnny, how are you tonight?
Grand, mate, thanks for asking. Yourself?
Listen, thank you for joining me. I had read several of your tweets online, and they really made me think, wait a minute, I had similar thoughts like that. This is, you know, I'm a paranoid person. I see lots of things. Today's news is about, you know, last week, martial law and the possibility of the army coming in to save the day because the government are so useless. We're going to end up with the worst of all situations, and people are blindly walking into this stuff. Now, your tweets, and you have a blog, it's, what's the web address? gaslightinggilligan.com?
Yeah.
Right, that's the website, so all of your stuff's on there, and everyone can read about it there, yeah?
Aye, and you can download the book for free. It's a free book for anybody to get, you know, as they want it, because it's unedited and least tidying up. If I get the opportunity to rewrite it properly, then I will. But it's free for anybody to download.
Okay. Now, I had a look at some of this stuff, and you know, like I say, like today's news, and I'd been saying it for quite a while, or thinking it for quite a while, but you know, now it's very real. It's in the newspapers. They're saying in the event of no deal, we could end up where the army are having to come on the streets. Now, you have a story to tell, which is quite frankly mind-blowing, and you know, I want everyone to know all about it, because this is basically a story of a militarised Brexit, a planned militarised coup d'etat, and it even involves plots to sink Trident submarines. Does that sound interesting? Keep listening, because I'm going to find out what's going on here. Okay, I've printed out some questions, and yeah, well, I want to start. Well, basically, you started writing a book.
Yeah. So the concept, I had the idea of first of all, gaslighting is basically a psychological manipulation. An emotional manipulation that happens, you know, in relationships behind closed doors.
Okay.
And it basically it sows doubt and basically, you know, it
makes you question what you
absolutely everything before, during, and after you do it. You know,
okay.
To the point you question your own sanity, and it eventually it erases you. The thing about the gaslighting is that you don't understand that the source, the person is doing it to you, And in my case, as a kind of male survivor of domestic abuse, I didn't see it was coming from my partner. I didn't see she was the source because I loved her.
Well,
you know?
okay, yeah.
And I thought she loved me. And essentially, I had to go for counselling during the relationship to find out that it was actually an abusive relationship. And so on, by the way, Ghastly, the term comes from a 1940s film whereby a guy marries a rich heiress and he's after some jewels that she owns, and he's either trying to get her to commit suicide or to get her committed to an institution. Right. And he goes around the house doing different wee bits and pieces to make her question her own sanity and doubt herself. And one of the methods that he does to do that is he finds a way to dim the gaslight in the house. It's one of these old houses.
Ah, right.
Which he says, did it just go dim type of thing? He says, no, it's, you're kind of losing it again type of thing, So she starts to question her reality.
Right, okay.
And the Gilligan bit is the Biffy Clyro, Many of Horror. It's a line there. So Gilligan's from Gilligan's Island, where Gilligan sees everything through a kind of Pollyanna prism, where everything's positive, because he doesn't want to deal with the
problems. Yeah, okay.
And that's us. That's us as a population.
All right. So this book was originally about.
Yes.
Like,
I was writing it, and I was writing it from a perspective. I was going to do it under a pseudonym, and talk about basically my experiences, because what I couldn't fathom is, and this is fact now, this might upset people, but it's true, is that as you and I sit here, that overall, men make up a whole third of overall domestic violence victims, right? An entire third, right?
I can believe, yeah.
Yeah, they're also 3 times less likely to report than their female counterparts, which would indicate that it's higher than a third. You just kind of extrapolate that, straight off. So I couldn't figure out why men wouldn't come forward. So what I wanted to do was write Ghastly and Gilligan in order to try and encourage men to start coming forward.
And to speak up about it and to make people aware of what's going on, right? So what I want to know is what happened that turned the book into what it's become now. Like, there must have come a moment where, something,
that's the weirdest thing. So what so I was doing, as I say, I was doing research, and I was doing it through the internet, TV, papers, this sort of stuff, magazines, and I overheard a woman say the word pathetic.
Right.
But it was about Ian Morgan, I think I pronounced his name, England cricket captain, right? And it was the way this woman said pathetic, the intonation, the delivery, I froze, right?
Right.
I had what I can only describe as a bout of PTSD, because when she said pathetic,
post-traumatic stress disorder.
It happens to soldiers, and it's also getting more.
Right, and you're an ex-soldier. We should point out as well. Yes. Yeah.
And also, obviously, as it transpires, a survivor of domestic abuse.
Yeah. Okay.
And the way this word pathetic was delivered, as I say, I froze for about kind of 8-10-ish seconds, something like that.
So someone said this, and
yeah, exactly. Now here's the thing, and this is where people don't like it. That woman saying that was on the deli, was on the box.
Right.
So I put that in the forward, so people can download the book and they can see who that was. All right, see who the inspiration for the route that Ghastly and Gilligan took. So what that compelled, that was the 12th of September 2016. I'll never forget that, obviously. And what I started to do was to monitor media, mainstream media, for psychical output, for psychical narratives and themes.
Right, basically propaganda. You're talking about, you're trying to find propaganda in programming, because I've read about a bit of propaganda and stuff, and it's all about getting an emotional reaction instead of a rational reaction.
Yeah.
And so what was this thing that was it just TV like, and someone said something in a certain tone of voice?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a current affairs, kind of daytime current affairs programme.
So it was news, it wasn't just entertainment where like that kind of thing?
No, this was a current affairs
programme. Alright, so we're talking about finding bias in the media, propaganda programming. You started looking into all that kind of thing?
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily looking, it was just monitoring, observing. And it took me a couple of months, and what I started doing immediately was recording. I've got all my notes and everything, but I started to write down a lot of the different scripts and narratives and this, that were basically going on these current affairs programs, on the news, and often as well in soaps. Okay, and by the kind of autumn, by the kind of November time, December time, I was satisfied that the output, in terms of, and we can see it and feel it, and that's the point. Of course, we see and hear propaganda, but the point is to feel the propaganda, right? Whether negatively or positively, we're supposed to feel the propaganda and be emotionalised by it.
Well,
and obviously our behaviours.
I'll cut in here, right? I was interviewed last night by Barhead Boy on his podcast, and it was one of the things I mentioned was I had a blog, which a post that I wrote. I'm all about bitcoins and I think that's the future of finance and stuff, right? So as far back as 2013, early 2013, I wrote these things, right? And one of the topics was Scottish independence, and they were going on about the pound and stuff. And this was before I get involved in the Yes movement. And I wrote a post, and I was like, yeah, Bitcoin will save the day, etc., right? But I read that back a couple of years ago, and I was like, oh my God, I sounded like the worst brainless unionist. I was literally parroting. I kid you not, I was going on like, oh, the fishy SNP, we can't trust them, salmon and sturgeon, oh, they say this, but what did, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know them, I didn't have any opinions about them, and there I was just writing this stuff as if like, yeah, it's just a matter of fact, because this stuff had been programmed into me, and I mean, since 2013 when I started Indie Live, and I started doing all these different things, and I've met everybody. I obviously got the yes message pretty quickly. I was like, wait a minute, and it really embarrasses me that I wrote that, but I've still got it online, but it's hidden. But like, it's a real no to yes story, Yeah. But the point is, all that bias was there, like,
And it's important to point out that Ghastly and Gilligan isn't about the Yes movement, isn't about Scotland. It is, but it's actually about the whole of the English and the Welsh and the Irish working mass as well, because we're all subject to the same propaganda.
Okay, so going back to when I was first interested in all your tweets and stuff, because I saw certain things coming out, and I'm a big fan of George Orwell's 1984, although, the joke these days, it was supposed to be,
a warning, not a manual.
A warning, not a manual, that's right, that's the thing, and what we see is the creeping towards this 1984 style thing, but so these tweets, they grabbed my attention, right, but basically the bit that grabbed me was the fact that you fled the country, and you ended up getting arrested in Germany.
I didn't flee the country.
You didn't flee the country.
I interpreted what I still believe was about to happen. So once I was satisfied that there was a definite propagandistic output regarding gender, right? So a gender, and that's what's in the book, fake gender war, right?
Well, there is a lot of that, yeah.
The messaging I picked up on, so towards the back end of 2016, was that basically all men were kind of paedophiles, pre-crime, kind of sex pests, this, that, and the next thing, right? Unless and also
unless
the toxic masculinity, unless they were in a military uniform, right, where they would be a hero and they were brave, and this, right. So I could see these distinct patterns going on, right. Now through research, I remember some of it through school a wee bit. White feather women, certainly in Britain at the time.
The white feather women remind me
so,
what.
The white feather women were a lot.
They put feathers on people that didn't go fight in the army.
Yeah.
That's so what it was.
They were essentially empowered, if you like, to go up to a man in the street who wasn't in uniform and pin a white feather on him as a sign of cowardice.
So like shaming him kind of thing, yeah.
Absolutely, guilt shaming him.
Right, okay.
Into going and signing up, and going to the front, as it were. And there's propaganda posters that use gender to guilt shame men. One is will you go or will I type thing, and it's a woman saying it to a man, in Ireland, and the background's Belgium's on fire type of thing, during the war.
Right.
And I found some actually quite recently. What was her name? Her name escapes me. Nicoletta Gallais. She's an American academic, done a lot of work on this. And essentially, how men in World War I, or during World War I, prior to conscription in 1916, were guilt shamed into joining up.
Okay.
And I could see through World War II, and I looked at a lot of Nazi propaganda as well, where they used gender, again, to shame and to make men proud to be in a uniform. And obviously, the Hitler Youth as well was basically all about, getting boys militarised from a young age leading up to the war itself. Right?
Okay, yeah.
But once I was satisfied that part was there, and the precedent had been there as well, for two big wars, the biggest you get, right, I started to monitor for other narratives, right?
Okay, right.
And one of the other narratives, I'm ex-army, ex-Royal Signal specifically, and by the way, I'll just rewind a wee bit. After I've been to Berlin, right?
Well, we haven't even got to Berlin yet, man.
Right, yeah, skipped a wee bit. Right, okay, so one of the narratives that I picked up amongst quite a few, but the most significant one that we'll cover tonight, really, was what I called the nuclear narrative, right?
The nuclear narrative.
The nuclear. Now, do you remember? And here's the thing: everything about Gaslight and Gilligan is precedented or evidenced, right? It's just a matter of interpretation.
Okay.
Right? And my interpretation differs well from pretty much everybody's, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. So there was a lot of noise. The Trident renewal vote had been done. There was a lot of noise in Parliament about how Theresa May would press the button and Jeremy Corbyn wouldn't.
Yeah, I remember all that. Yeah. And then that was just before the vote to stick another 100 billion or so, 102 billion, I think it worked out at the end or something.
Well, I don't recall. I don't remember that bit,
but they were voting on it.
I was convinced that it was chatter. So basically, it's a very simple principle. Basically, if the enemy is making a lot of noise about one thing,
saber rattling as they call it in the newspapers.
Yeah, you look the other way. So it's a kind of. I think it was radio ops certainly that had to do it in the core. Okay. So they would listen out for chatter. But the idea of chatter is you make a lot of noise about something.
And then they think, there's something going on here. And it's the opposite.
You look elsewhere.
Yeah. So standard deception tactics.
I'd started to develop this theory and it's since been proven true.
Okay.
Because that's the thing as well. US defence spending overall is rocketing as ever.
Right.
And obviously, there's lots of pressure for the UK to do more. It's 2% now. But both navies, US and UK, spending is going down, right? So I developed this kind of hypothesis, this idea that submersible drones would actually, as technologically advanced as the ones we see in the air, blowing the crap out of the Middle East, right? Sites.
Well, I have seen a video on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever heard of a company called Boston Dynamics.
Yeah.
This is a company that's to do with the Google and apparently the National Security Agency or something like that. But they're making these like robots, and they have this thing called Big Dog, which is and it's just a big block of metal, but it's got 4 legs that act very like an actual living creature, right? And the video it shows you is this robot walking across an icy ground in a car park, and the guy sticks his boot into the side of it, and the thing stumbles and its legs all it grabs its balance like a human or another animal would do, and it's scary natural looking. It's right, but I also saw another one where they had an underwater thing that looked like a snake. I don't know if you remember these plastic toys snakes that had all the wee links, and you could go like that, right? I had one of them when I was a kid, man. Those things, right? Imagine that as a drone, right? Boston Dynamics have done that as well. So, yeah, I've seen underwater drones, and they look like scary natural, like sea snakes or something like that. It's horrible, man. Like, you know, like it's quite freaky. Google for Boston Dynamics Big Dog, and you'll find all of these things, right? But please go on anyway. So you were saying, and thinking about it, right? We have all these drones in the air. You know, like they clogged up the airport down in London, had to close down for the day. One guy, let's shut it down, man, right, with some cheap drone. Right? Now, we have that technology for us. What do the FBI, like MI5, what do all the intelligence agencies and the governmental agencies have? They've got better stuff. Obviously, they've got better stuff. And I can believe that they've got underwater drones as well, because you know we've got like things that launch up like Predator drones. You know, no pilots, just a bombing countries, man, like that have oil and stuff. You know.
That was the kind of idea that I had, that these things were as technologically advanced in the water as they were in the air.
And I can believe it. To not believe it would be naive, I think.
I mean, you have to be naive to think that the defence industry forgot to put that technology in the water and develop that technology in the water. So my theory is that there are basically nuclear tipped, probably a tactical kind of nuclear warhead of some description that could take out battleships. So my idea was basically that
whoa. Slow down.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Yeah. So it's just, it was a theory that I did for the book, but it's since proven to be true. In fact, Putin came out and said that they have underwater drones. And so I suspect what these drones are basically a nuclear power could probably stay at sea for months, if not even years on end. But basically probably be a tactical nuclear tip of some description. To take out a battleship, to take out a carrier, that size thing. And this would explain why...
It does make sense. I mean, like, it's feasible. It's completely feasible, man.
But what worried me was... so I already had that idea, and I was absolutely certain that men were being subliminally guilt-shamed to head towards the military.
So wait a minute, right? I'm trying to piece this story together here, right? And I'm sure many of the viewers are as well. So we're writing a book on domestic abuse. It's turned into this other thing where, like, you get arrested in Germany and you're saying that there was some sort of military coup going on.
I need to come back. Right. So on the drones thing, submersible drones idea, right? It was only, and that's why I think navies are defunct now, or obsolescent, right?
Navies are what? Obsolete.
Yeah, so not quite obsolete because they can still in service, but on their way out of service, so obsolescent. You know?
Well, having said that though, like, you know, like having to have humans on board a nuclear Trident submarine. Yeah, like, you know, if you can run a drone, why do you need to stick a human in there? So yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
right.
That was that was the kind of idea for that.
No, as well, right? You were going on about all this chatter, as you said, man, right?
Yes,
about Trident and stuff like that. Now, another thing they're talking about is, well, the upgrade of Trident, 100 billion, and the decommissioning of the old stuff.
Yeah. So what I think that we're going to do is, and judging by the chatter that I was following, was that we were all being delivered this what I called an inevitability narrative. So what they do, and what the gaslighter does, is drip feed you an inevitability, right?
Like no deal Brexit. Like no deal Brexit. They keep feeding us. They keep saying, we'll do this best thing ever. It's going to be great, and everyone's like,
so by the time.
Hello, we can't do that. It's not going to happen.
But that's the thing. It's so long a process, and a lot of the time it was so subliminal. Is that when it actually happens, you go, well, of course it happened. You know, because they were telling us it was going to happen. Okay. And what I picked up on was that. Now, do you remember the WannaCry global IT attack that the NHS?
the Bitcoin hijackers.
Right.
Give us free Bitcoins or something like that. What? Something like that. Yeah.
So what I was basically monitoring that one as well, but it was a week or two after that global IT attack had taken place.
Right.
That the MOD and the UK government came out and said, oh, and by the way, and it was on Windows XP that the NHS had, and by the way, Trident is also run on Windows XP. Right?
Yeah. Well,
so at that point, I was like, you bastards. I'm not sure if I let swear in here, but anyway.
What? So, my God! Well, slow down, man. Trident. I know about this. Trident runs on a modded version of Windows XP.
Right. So we would be.
And that WannaCry virus that affected the NHS. Was a virus that infected XP.
Aye.
Are you telling us then that this virus was intended?
Yeah. To sink a Trident sub, but sink it specifically at Faz Lane or somewhere in the Clyde estuary. Seriously.
Okay. Now.
Right.
Okay,
that's
right.
Why I went to Berlin.
Now, listen, right. I find that I read a lot of stuff on the internet, right?
Here's the thing.
Now, before
I couldn't make this up. If I wasn't monitoring it, I don't have the imagination for this.
Well, listen. I read a lot of stuff on the internet. You know, I do like some conspiracy theories and things like that, and I always like to balance the possible versus the probable. You know, you hear something, is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? Yeah. Right.
Well, the idea was to blame Iran. Right. This is all in the book. The idea was to blame Iran, and then they would have, and essentially what the effect would do eventually was to begin to destroy socio-economic confidence in Glasgow.
In Glasgow?
In Glasgow, because if you've got a radioactive Clyde estuary, right, with a toxic soup running through the middle of the biggest city in Scotland, then eventually confidence ebbs away in Glasgow itself.
Well, people start dying. People get sick. If that's the case, man.
Of course. And it would basically, in a matter of a generation, empty the Central Belt. But it would also give them the pretext for war against Iran to go and get their oil. Now, and here's on the 23rd of June 2017,
This is the date that you
over
tweet
to
out.
Berlin.
Yes, right. Okay, so you decided I have to. You need to do something about this.
Yeah, because it was all tied in with Brexit. Now, the two were never meant to appear. Of course, they wouldn't appear to be one to have to do with the other, because the Brexit vote would have been done. Article 50 was voted through. So, but what would have happened was this unexpected, out of nowhere, national emergency takes place, an attack by Iran through a virus, through this WannaCry virus, on the Trident nuclear sub in the Clyde, and of course Iran gets the blame. But with the guilt, shame, recruitment already going on, channeling already going on, which is also aided by austerity, so just basically choking off economic opportunities for young men.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I formed what I called the Dark Triad. The Dark Triad is an actual psychiatric term for Machiavellianism, psychopathy.
Okay. Do not confuse us. Like, you're starting to confuse me. You might confuse other people. But to get to the point,
the three key areas, bringing everything together, if you like, was austerity, Brexit, and the Istanbul Convention. Right. The Istanbul Convention was basically, it's this global convention to stop violence against women and girls, right? Which is what Magic Girl wants to stop violence against women and girls. We want to stop violence against everybody.
Well, it sounds good. Yeah.
It does.
Sounds a bit sexist, actually, but, like, never mind that, man, right? But
that was a precursor.
Should be everyone.
What I picked up on, of course, I didn't call it, I just called it the fake gender war and the gender agenda in the book, right? But remember, this is June 2017. I took it to Berlin.
So you went to Berlin. Why did you go to Berlin? Something made you click.
I could see how they were going to militarise Brexit. I could see they were going to conduct essentially a false flag attack to basically, within a generation, I'd say, end Scotland and have a pretext for war in Iran. All right. And the reason that I knew that Trump, and by the way, sorry, I haven't said that, because Trump and the Trump presidency and Brexit are the same coup.
Well, we're starting to read about that as well, aren't we? But so that's going to play out. We're going to see that. But you're saying,
There's far more cleverer people than me working on this and have been for some time. And there's a gifted, talented journalist called Carol Kudwala. I give her a wee kind of credit, in the book itself, because she was basically getting to the bottom of Tory Analytica, or going through the Tory Analytica evidence-wise, whereas the reason I knew they were connected was because of the fake gender war, what eventually became and is now Me Too.
Me Too. Hashtag Me Too. Right?
It's an update. It's media projected, right, and actually legislation projected, or it's about to be as well in some places, to essentially
legislation protected.
Basically to steer, to channel men as volunteers into a uniform, into a military uniform.
Back to your vibe again, right? So anyway, you decided that, like, you could see something happening that no one else could see. Like this is, it's actually in plain sight.
Orwell.
George Orwell was a genius, man.
So I went to Berlin, flew over the 23rd of June 2017.
Okay.
So Me Too didn't come out as a conscious, as an overt propaganda war that it did in October later on that year. Now, so went over, and I didn't know that the embassy. My plan was to go to the Irish embassy. Right?
The Irish embassy.
The Irish embassy. My rationale for going to Berlin was Berlin had already seen tyranny twice in the 20th century.
So the Germans would understand more than everyone.
Yeah, that was my theory.
Right, okay,
Through the Irish embassy, because they'd probably suffered they'd suffered more than anybody.
Well, so what happened then? I mean, I'm trying to imagine being a German police guy just doing his shift.
Yeah, well, what happened?
And then you walk in.
I walked up to two German policemen who had noticed there was a permanent stag roster outside this building next to the hotel I was in.
A permanent what? Sorry.
Stag. They're on duty outside the building on guard. Sorry, yeah, on stag. They were on duty outside the building, you know. And I'd got myself, I was a bit panicked, you know, but I was measured with it, and I basically just walked up to them with a used USB stick, and said that, you know, Brexit was a coup, and they needed to put me in touch with the Irish embassy. But here's the thing: I was so panicked and so so scared, and I wouldn't let them talk to me for 5-10 minutes. And of course, they were trying to ignore me, I think, as well, you know. And I was basically saying to them that, you know, we've been here before. We're starting to see UK fascism and US fascism, and I've got it all in here. And it was the book, right? And that's the thing, because I was so wrapped up in this. I mean, I totally understand why they thought I was nuts. You know, I get it, right?
Okay.
But I convinced them, right? And they took me in, they took all my details, and they put me in touch with the Irish embassy, who I spoke to, and I tried to convey to them about how they were using the genders, how they were using men and women against each other as a way to recruit. And when I realised this was on the phone, it wasn't actually in person, so it was on the phone to the Irish embassy. And when I realised I wasn't getting anywhere with that, I just said to them that you take nothing else away from this conversation. They're going to sink a sub in July, a Trident sub during July, to emulate or recreate the 1914 July crisis, right, which basically took us into war, right?
So you're suggesting that they were planning on sinking one of these subs, in order to blame it on Iran, and militarise Brexit for
every young man, you know, and
patriotic young men. Get your ass up and out there, man. Shame on you that don't.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Now,
so the German police, right? Let me do. How did they react to this, man? Right? I mean, like, you know.
They were obviously, and I totally get it. They were just, I don't know. They just thought it was probably a surreal experience for them as well.
Well, aye.
So I spoke to the Irish embassy. They were magic. I spoke to this woman on there. She was absolutely brilliant. Very understanding, very compassionate, and patient. And then what I didn't know was she'd phoned the British embassy, who I'd made it clear I didn't want to talk to because I didn't trust them.
Aye.
But when they phoned, I just politely declined to speak to them.
Right.
And then, now what I hadn't realised was the building the cops I walked up to in the first place, that was a Bundes, that was a national government building, right?
Right.
So they weren't kind of local Berlin police, they were the Bundes police, right?
Well, I've heard that in Germany they've got like local councils within local councils within, like, and there's thousands of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You can have a council for your street or some shit like that. I don't know. Sounds very.
I went to the local. They gave me an address for the local police, right?
Right.
And I was convinced by this point that I needed protection, right? I was absolutely papping myself, you know. And they wouldn't. I wanted in the cell, and they wouldn't arrest me, right? So I gave them a reason to arrest me.
You gave them a reason.
These two local cops pulled up outside the building, and they just parked their car, the police car. And I don't recommend this. Don't do this at home. But to get arrested, I got it was like a wee laptop, aluminium laptop cradle thing that folds flat. So I just tried to put the cop car through to get arrested. The window. Aye.
You smashed a German cop car window.
No, I didn't. No, they're tough things.
But they arrested you for trying.
And took me into the station, and then said they were going to send me off to.
And you did that because you were.
Because I was convinced that I was going to get done. That I was going to get done.
You act like, right, so. And I mean, this is it, man, right? So you're saying that, like, and we're about to get to this, right? Because, you know, the vibe is, the story so far is that, like, you have warned the German authorities of a plan to sink a Trident sub in the Clyde, poisoning the whole central belt, killing off any prospect of independence. As a thing, but mainly making it a precursor to go to war with Iran.
Yeah. Now, to put some meat in the bones of that, because it was just a theory at the time, right? I didn't find out until October 2017, and it was at an SNP CND meeting with Stuart MacDonald, MP.
That's my MP. He's a good guy. I like Stuart.
And I spoke to him about it, and of course he just looked at me, kind of alright type of thing. But what came out of that conversation was the day that I flew to Berlin, so the 23rd, Friday the 23rd, an IT attack had taken place on Westminster, right? And the MPs were briefed that Iran had conducted that IT attack on Westminster.
What?
Yeah.
Are you telling me? Are you telling this could be the news? This is what I've been trying to find out here. Like, I've read Johnny's tweets here, gaslighting Gilligan on Twitter. I've read his tweets, man. Like, are you saying then that, like, this, like, if I ask my MP, Stuart MacDonald, did he receive a message saying, we've been IT attacked, it was Iran that done it?
Yeah, because he told me.
And you're saying that this is connected to this plan to sink Trident sub. Can I just tell you something, right? Can I just cut? I read all sorts of rubbish on the internet, man, right? But I do read some good stuff as well, you know. You have to sift through a lot of rubbish to hit the nuggets of gold here, man, right? But now you're talking about the WannaCry virus, and the WannaCry virus affected XP. You're saying XP affected Trident subs because Trident subs run on a modded version of XP, right? Now, before that, you had the Stuxnet virus, right? And the Stuxnet virus was apparently, as far as I could ascertain on the internet, it was a virus written by Israeli Secret Service in order to take out an Iranian nuclear something, you know. And the idea was that it made the thing spin round so fast and overheat and collapse, and like that was the virus. But and yeah, of course, like I'm saying, this is all conspiracy stuff. I read a lot, and lots makes sense, lots doesn't. But let me finish, right? And what basically happened was this USB stick with the Stuxnet virus, which was supposed to end up in an Iranian nuclear facility, ended up in Fukushima.
I
can't say it's true. Don't know if it's true. Don't know if it's true, right? But you just made me think of that, right? And that's very. I'm gonna read in that.
Well, Fukushima was part of my inspiration for the name, so I gave the operation name to sink the Trident sub. I gave it the name Op Fukuglashu.
So Glasgow being the Gaelic for Glasgow.
And Glasgow is a Gaelic for Glasgow.
Aye.
Right. So Op Fukuglashu. Now that Op, right, my fiction Op Fukuglashu in real terms is Op Yellowhammer. So Op Yellowhammer.
Now, Op Yellowhammer, if I remember correctly, it's the No Deal preparation plan.
Yes.
And I remember they captured a photograph of a little bit sticking out of a folder. Classic propaganda. You know, the guy walks out with a folder. Why don't you have a bloody bag like anyone else? Oh no, let's have a folder with like a little teaser sticking out of the top.
That's part of the game. Because what they do is they drip feed you what they're going to do. So that by the time it comes along, so we've had for a few months now, quite a few months now, this idea of militarisation.
Right, okay. So what I was going to say...
We're not supposed to go, oh, what they told us, of course, yeah.
Right.
As if that's normal.
What I need to ask you then, right, is like, because, you know, so you went over, you warned them. Obviously, you know, you spoke to various embassies and stuff, and like, you know...
I should say, for transparency, and this is important, the local police, after they lifted me, sent me to a psychiatric unit, and completely understandable. And I wanted to, right? Because I thought I'd be safe in there, and I couldn't care less if people, you know, think less of me for this. And I actually had a review in there, obviously.
And what did they say?
Separates me. Well, I'm absolutely fine.
What separates you?
Was the fact that I could be wrong, right? So because I can put my hands up and go, do you know what, I could be wrong. My interpretation could be wrong.
Shit,
that's basically what
you are saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
So
and then I spoke to the head guy. So I had a couple of assessments, and then I spoke to the head guy, and I said, listen, mate, with all due respect, I believe this is going to happen and what they were about to happen. I cannot unbelieve it, because it doesn't suit you.
Right, okay. So, you know, let me just like bring it to where I am, right? Like, so if I was still in Glasgow, and I'm not, I'm in Belgium right now. I left because we voted no, and I'll be back when we vote independence, man, or to fight for that vote for independence, man.
English working classes are going to deliver Scotland's independence.
What's that?
I think when the English working classes wake up to what Tory analytics could have done to them, I don't think we're going to need a second independence, mate.
The problem, well, the thing is, like, you know, there are no such people as British people. You're not British. You're Scottish. He's not English. He's not British. He's English. You know, the British are the establishment.
Well, I've done a lot.
Put us all under control. It's that's like, you know, that's the way I see it. Right. Anyway, but. That's getting back to where we were saying. So basically, there's this plan. Right,
so
but did it go ahead or did it not? I mean, right, I'm assuming if you had warned the German authorities, who phoned the Irish authorities, and then you didn't speak to the British embassy.
Yeah, they phoned me briefly. I didn't give them any detail, but of course they would have got all the detail from the Irish embassy. You know?
Right. Okay.
But I didn't speak to them at any length. I just said I don't want to speak to you guys. You know, thanks very much, and hung up. But they were still informed. So
whether you were right or wrong, like you felt like you warned them, and if it was a problem, then the word would have spread out between intelligence agencies. And disaster would have been averted and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So, but you're saying that, like, if that plan failed to sink this Trident sub, but you're saying it's still the case that they need to get this militarised Brexit.
Yeah,
and it's still going on. And of course, that brings us right back to the beginning of the stream when I said, in the newspapers, they're all talking about martial law. They're talking about, like, you know, food shortages. You voted for Brexit. It's going to be the milk and honey. It's going to be, you know, the greener grass. It'll be all that thing. Now we're talking about adequate food. Now we're talking about, like, you know, we will survive.
Medicines and food and
stockpiling. We're now talking about, like, martial law. The army on the streets. because of the incompetence of the government, man. They're just so useless.
It's not incompetence. It's, from my interpretation, their plan to militarise Brexit, which one wasn't supposed to ever look as if one had to do with the other.
Yeah.
The plan to militarise Brexit was basically catastrophically interrupted. Right? Everything since, I believe, has been their plan B. Right? So they're blaming incompetence and they're blaming deal and no deal and this internal fight. Theatre. It's all theatre. Right?
Well, we know there's a lot of theatre goes on, so like you know that's very, very possible.
It's a fake fight, mate. It's a fake fight. They're stringing it out for as long as they can, whilst drip feeding is the inevitability of militarisation. So that by the time they do it, we all go, well, aye, they told us that.
Yeah. And this is the thing, right? So like if we keep hearing it enough, it becomes a reality. We just accept it. You know, it's like. Well, of course the army are on the streets. The government are so bloody useless. We've just been programmed that for the last 2 years.
But on top of that, and bear in mind, I'm ex-army myself, so I want to look out for the army guys as well, because they're being manipulated as well, right? Is that we've all been programmed, if you like, to view the military as like a quasi-religion almost, you know. Like,
right.
Brave heroes running towards the danger and all this sort
of
stuff.
I have the utmost respect for all the squaddies and stuff, man, you know, because they are risking life and limb, you know.
That messaging, that heroic, brave, continued cyclical messaging will make us more inclined to comply with them.
Yeah, well, you can't argue with that, yeah.
And actually on that, and I think this is important as well, Tory Analytica, the Cobra Cabinet, need violence on the streets. They need violence in order to have their pretext. That's why we're getting all these other narratives at the minute about knife crime and all this, that, and the next thing. Yes, it is rocketed, and it's rocketed because of austerity.
Yeah.
And part of that austerity was to decimate and demoralise police forces as an additional part of the pretext to get the forces out in the streets, July 2017, right? But basically, they're keeping that narrative up as the pretext to get us out. The last thing masses of crowds need to be doing, right, is being violent against the military or the police, because that's what Tory Analytica want. That's what they need, right? So we cannot get violent with them, right?
No, okay.
Civil rights stuff you're talking about, right? We cannot get violent. If we reciprocate violence, right, they are going to have their excuse to stay on the streets, right?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you know, and we are Scottish, you know, like we don't want this.
No, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. But you know what? Here's the thing: neither does England, right?
No, I know nobody wants this, right? But like, if people find out about this, if people watch this, and again, if you're sitting watching this right now, please give it a retweet and put the hashtag out there, TikTok troops.
Aye.
Because
Tory Analytica, TikTok troops. But when they find out, when the English working masses find out the true purpose of austerity, which is to cut off economic opportunities for men and to demoralise the police force, right? And also the point of Me Too, right, is to basically guilt shame men and channel them towards, the young men towards a military uniform.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's been done before, right? First World War and Second World War. It's been done before, right? Then when they wake up to that, and by the way, the run up to July, so basically through springtime, and up Yellowhammer, remember we talked about that one?
Yeah.
Well, front cover of the book, and I did it all myself on PDF, so it doesn't look great.
If you're seeing this whole...
Flag is yellow.
If you're seeing the whole sink a Trident sub, kill off half of Scotland's independence support, you know, let them move in and take all the oil and there'll be no resistance to it or anything.
Because Scotland's oil, as well as Iran's oil...
Because we're just another, like, you know, right, now, let's get real here, man, right? Like, the UK is falling apart. As far as I'm aware, the UK can't survive Brexit. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. You take any of the 3 scenarios that they're talking about. They're talking about no deal. Scotland leaves. We will leave. We did not want that. We will leave. We can get a better deal. Easy. Right? They'll have us back. Right? Theresa May's deal. It splits the UK into 2 different islands. Northern Ireland, part of Ireland, and Great Britain. That splits the UK, and if it's Theresa May's deal, then Northern Ireland reunite with Ireland, and then Scotland shortly leaves. And in the short, right, let me finish here. And in the unlikely scenario of somehow Brexit gets cancelled and there's a Remain vote, all the English voters that demanded Brexit will be outraged, and they'll be like, fuck this UK, we want our independence, and they'll leave the UK. The Union is finished. Right. Every scenario, I don't see a way they can get out of it. But please, you were about to say something about Northern Ireland.
One of the other effects of Alt-Fuki Glacier was not only basically destroying Glasgow eventually with radioactive, toxic supernuclide. Socio-economic confidence destroyed in Glasgow. That would then basically spread across the central belt slowly but surely. One of the other effects across the other side of the Irish Sea, over in Northern Ireland, and here's what would have happened, on my theory at least, is that British troops would have been deployed in mainland Britain, but Tory Analytica would be seen to observe the Good Friday Agreement and not deploy troops in Northern Ireland. Right? So which would in effect would be a united Ireland. Right?
Right.
Why? Because Northern Ireland's unionists have absolutely no use at all anymore for Tory Analytica, for the unionists, for Westminster. Their political, religious, ideological element of them has outlasted its use. Northern Ireland financially is a drain on Westminster.
Yeah.
So I suspect what would have happened was, and you know that £1 billion bribe?
Oh yeah,
right?
Who doesn't know about the £1 billion
right?
bribe?
So there's £1 billion sat there in a fund apparently for, for Northern Ireland. And as far as I'm aware, it hasn't actually gone anywhere, right? I suspect what that £1 billion was for was basically to conduct a replantation, right?
Okay.
So all Northern Ireland's unionists would have basically been paid for with that money
to move.
To
You're
Britain.
Joking.
This is my theory, right? Now this isn't in the book because obviously that happened after. That £1 billion thing happened after.
Aye.
Right? But I think what was going to happen is that
it's just like, forget it. We're breaking the UK up, right? Because let me cut in here and say, like, it's not about anything other than avoiding tax, right? Let's just say, right? Panama Papers, all these offshore companies and stuff, they're getting out of there, man. They don't want to pay the tax. They want to siphon as much of the profit whilst denying the majority of the people that made that money in the first place, man. Stop them from getting it, and they can run away with all these profits. The EU tax avoidance the new EU tax avoidance directives come into effect on April the 1st. That's when Brexit is, right? And as soon as, the same day that they leave the European Union is the same time.
You've just reminded me of something else, actually.
And what's that?
So the Dark Triad, the character, right, has a sense of humour, right?
Hold on, my daughter was phoning me on my computer there. Yes,
as
sorry.
As evil as they are, they still have a sense of humour. Right?
She's very insistent. She's 16 years old. I actually expect a few more of these. Let's try and finish up because we've been going a while here.
Right, well, so the sense of humour, and I think that was a bit of symbolism on their part, was essentially the day or 2 days before, whenever it was, that tax law was due to come in. That was their way of saying, look what we've done.
They ran it to the last minute.
Right. Do you know one of the dark triad humour things? You know why Boris Johnson made these and everybody was laughing. Titanic success will make a Titanic success of Brexit.
Yeah. Because they're going to sink the UK, and they don't actually care about the UK. They just care about their own little group continuing to keep money, keep making money, and then at the rest of our expenses.
There was a statement by a Facebook vice president, and by the way, Facebook and Twitter, as well as the mainstream media, are up to their eyeballs in this.
Oh, of course,
Well, the leadership, certainly is. A guy called Andrew Bosworth, right?
Don't know.
Who, in 18th of June 2016, and again, I found this out after I'd written a book and we'd come back to Berlin. Maybe someone dies in a terrorist attack coordinated on our tools, and we still connect people. Andrew Bosworth, Facebook Vice President, 18th of June 2016.
Wow.
Why would a Facebook exec be talking about, and what he's talking about is a false flag, right? Conductive.
Aye.
And he's talking about off-route glacier. Maybe someone carries out an attack, a terrorist attack coordinating our tools. He's talking about WannaCry.
Well,
Tory Analytica. That's what they are, mate.
So,
and so Brexit is the tip of the iceberg, mate.
Yeah. So the plan to sink a sub has failed.
Yeah.
They're still trying to militarise Brexit, and now, as far as I can see, Ireland is going to be the excuse for that. Yeah. Would you agree?
That was the initial plan. So all this backstop stuff, everything about the backstop and the Irish border problem was never meant to be a problem.
Yeah, but if the sub thing happened first, though, that would have been
they would have been united. Ireland would have been a united Ireland. But what would have happened? The Tory Analytica Cobra cabinet would have turned around to all the unionists in Northern Ireland and say, "Well, we'll bring you over here."
And that's what the £1 billion was actually an evacuation fee.
So a new Ulster Scots plantation, right, back on mainland Britain. And I reckon they would have formed the backbone of, a very, very right-wing element.
Well, what can I say, man? Like, this has been a hell of an interesting conversation, man. There's lots of things to look up, man. There's a few questions and things I'm like, I'll be searching for that. I mean,
there's so much more in the book, but we basically just covered the basics.
So once again, it's gaslightinggilligan.com is your website.
Yeah, just Google Gaslight.
And if you're not following already on Twitter, it's at GasGilligan.
At GasGilligan.
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, mate.
Well, listen, thank you very much for taking the time out tonight to sit and have a chat with me, man, because I wanted to know more about this,
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you know what? The proof will be I've been invited on a couple of other platforms, and the proof will be in the pudding is whether they still have me on after this.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right. Well, listen, Johnny, thank you very much once again for your time. We're done here, man, for the night, man. But keep tuning in on independencelive.net. We've just launched the radio station as well, so you can tune into that. We've got indielive.radio, and if you go there, you can also download an app for iPhone and for Android, and we can tune in, and we'll be sharing a lot of things pretty soon, man. We've just got started, but hook up with us on Twitter. I'm at Delboy1978 UK. Don't hassle me about the UK. It's an old username. And at Live Indie Scott as well. And Johnny here is at Gas Gilligan, so you can hook up with us all there, man. The chat for the night was hashtag TikTok Troops. So if it's a discussion regarding that, put that hashtag out there and we can keep it all going on Twitter. But thanks everyone that tuned in. Thank you once again, Johnny.
Cheers, pal. Thank you.
And I'll see you again soon or next time, whenever.
Next time, mate. Next time. On the other side.
On the other side, in an independent Scotland. That's it.
Take it easy, buddy.
Okay, doke. Cheers, guys. I am clicking stop streaming right now.